What's going on, guys? Anthrax here. So today I have a new election video for you, and it is going to be my battleground map for President Trump going up against Joe Biden. And before I start off, I want to say a few things. I anticipate a few of the things I say in this video are probably going to be unpopular. It may piss some of you off, but I just want to point out again before this starts, this is an election video. It's a prediction. So really, until the election happens, you have no idea if I'm right or you're right. We're just going off what we know so far. So with that said, there's a few things that you need to keep in mind when it comes to this. Number one, the Trump versus Joe Biden general election polls really don't mean anything. Like, they're pretty much useless. Any Democrat's going to win the national vote is going to win the popular vote in this country. Because of cities like LA, New York, Chicago, they literally overpower most of the Republican states in terms of pure total votes. So the national polls really don't matter. The only polls that actually mean something are the more state by state polls. Now, that being said, it is May, and we're also in kind of not really a recession, but we're pretty close to economic, I don't really know how to say it. We're just in a bad economic state right now. And come November, we can really only improve from where we are right now. We can either stay the same or improve. And I'm betting on the country and the economy slightly improving and being in better shape than we are now. Because there's no way this quarantine thing lasts throughout November. There's just no way. So I think the economy and the country will begin to recover, which will definitely positively impact President Trump in this election. And the last thing I just have to say real quick is that, actually two more things. The last thing is, just because President Trump got hidden voters in 2016 doesn't mean they automatically flip back to the Democrats in 2020. Now, this is important, especially when I bring up Pennsylvania coming up in a few minutes. Pennsylvania, President Trump had more votes than President Obama in Pennsylvania did. So while the polls may not show it, the voters are still there, and the hidden Trump vote is still there. It didn't just go away. Of the people who didn't say they're voting for Trump but voted for him anyway, I'm thinking a rough estimate, at least 80 to 85% are going to vote for him again. Which is why you also need to take that into account when you're making predictions and maps and stuff like this. It's not just oh, well, the polls say Trump's going to lose, so Trump's going to lose. Or vice versa, the polls say Trump's going to win, so Trump's going to win. It's not that simple. I mean, 2016 showed us polling is not always right 100% of the time. And a lot of polls are put out to try and sway public opinion which way or another way. So the simple fact is, there's a lot of factors that go into these videos. It's not just, oh, well, the polls say this. Because the polls really are just a general consensus of what we know. But there's a lot about these elections that we don't know that we have to go off of when deciding who's going to win what. Alright, so with that said, let's get into what I'm going to call my battleground map. So, I think Joe Biden will solidly win the West Coast. I mean, pretty much any Democrat's going to win the West Coast. President Trump will win Alaska safe. Utah, I don't see any real Republican third-party challenge putting up enough support and taking it away from President Trump. President Trump will win throughout the traditional Republican states. Nebraska's 2nd District is not going to be safe, though. We're going to come back to that. All throughout the typical Republican L shape throughout the South, the Midwest, and the Northwest are pretty much going to go to all the Republicans. Illinois will go to the Democrats. Every state in the East Coast, except for New Hampshire, will all go for the Democrats. Maine's 1st District, I do see being safe for the Democrats at this time. New York, at large, the New York State will also be safe for the Democrats. And these are all the safe states I want to characterize right now. So I think President Trump will have 125 electoral votes no matter what. Democrats will get 183 no matter what. So now the likely states. New Mexico and Colorado, I both put in this likely margin right now. I think that President Trump lost both of these states by about a likely to lean margin. Well, especially Colorado, a likely to lean margin in 2016. And I really only see that growing as population increase causes both of these states to go towards a likely column than the lean column. However, that being said, I still see President Trump winning Texas in a likely margin. The reason I see him, I think this is borderline lean to likely margin. However, I do think President Trump has higher turnout in the state of Texas on election day than what the polls suggest. That tends to be a trend in Texas. Romney versus Obama was relatively close in polling data, and then he ended up winning by over 10 points on election day. I think we could see something similar to President Trump, but instead of winning by 10 points, maybe 5 or 6 points. The state of Virginia, I think Virginia's in that likely column. I don't think it's going to be a win big enough to be in the safe column. I think it's probably going to be about a 7 or 8 point win probably in Virginia, similar to the governor's race back in 2017, where I believe it was Ralph Northam beat Ed Gillespie like 54-45, like 9 point win maybe. I could see maybe something being similar like that. But with a third party vote, maybe Biden gets like 53, 54, Trump gets like 44 or 45 or something like that. Somewhere close in that margin. Now, I am going to put Iowa and Ohio in the likely margin right now. I mean, these two states, despite the congressional seats flipping in Iowa, there were actually strong Republican turnout out of the state of Iowa and especially the state of Ohio, electing a Republican governor who's projected to lose in the polls. I think both of these states showed in 2018 in a Democratic wave year they stuck with the Republicans in a lot of cases, and I think that's going to carry over to President Trump in 2020. So Trump's going to have at least 187. Joe Biden will have at least 210. Actually, wait, no, here. Maine second district, I'd put in the likely column, or Maine at large, I'd put in the likely, and Maine Maine second district, I'd put in the likely column for Trump as well. So Trump is 188, Biden is 212. Into the lean states now. I start off by putting Nevada into the lean column for now. 2016, Nevada was the closest it's been at the presidential level in a while. However, I still think Joe Biden will overperform Hillary Clinton because even with everything going on with this Tara Reade thing, we still have more information to learn about. I still think Joe Biden probably gets more turnout than Hillary Clinton does at this moment. Of course, things can change. It's only May. I looked at the polling data from 2016, and Trump was losing to Hillary by 9 points at this time. So obviously, a lot can change leading up to November. Also, how we vote, if it's mail in ballots, that probably favors the Democrats. So it'll be interesting to see how it ends up voting. That'll definitely shape one way or another on what happens. But I think Biden starts off as a favorite to narrowly win the state of Nevada. I think the state of Minnesota also starts off in the lean column. I think Joe Biden will win a little more support there than Hillary Clinton did. Whether or not Republicans put effort in trying to win that state still remains to be seen. The state of Georgia, I think all right. The state of Georgia starts off in the Republican column, the lean red column for President Trump. Georgia, turns out that reopening the state, they had their lowest numbers of cases reported. So if that proves to be effective, that's probably going to help out Georgia. President Trump's still well approved of in Georgia. President Trump's going to win Georgia in 2020. The state of North Carolina, I go back and forth on this one a lot, but President Trump actually had a bigger margin of victory in 2016 than Mitt Romney had in 2012. And I honestly could see that happening in North Carolina again. I could see a split ticket of Trump winning and then having the governor, whose name is escaping me right now, I don't know why, but I expect the Democrat governor to win re-election and President Trump to split the ticket and win at the presidential level at the same time. The state of New Hampshire, I was kind of going back and forth on this, but I think New Hampshire does start off as a lean state as of now. I think a lot of former Massachusetts residents moving up to New Hampshire and continuing to vote Democrat has kind of flipped that state from being not really a Republican state, more of a swing to moderate state to being more of can still swing back, but more likely in the Democratic column state. I think New Hampshire starts off in the lean Democratic column for now. The state of Florida, I would honestly give President Trump the state of Florida in the lean margin to start off. And the reason I do this is because President Trump made Florida his home state. He was already well approved of. Ron DeSantis has been well approved of, even through this whole pandemic situation. So I think President Trump will be narrowly favored to start off to win the state of Florida. And the last call I'm going to make, which I just recently thought about, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, is I'm going to start off with the state of Michigan in the lean column. And my reasoning for this is President Trump won back in 2016, the state of Michigan. He won 47.3%. In the video I did going over 2016 versus 2012, a lot of Obama voters did not come out to vote for Hillary Clinton. And only like 100,000 voters more came out for Trump over Romney. Where do those voters go? There's no way 400,000 voters just vanish. So those voters come back out. They're going to go for Biden and Trump most likely. And that's going to end up putting it in Joe Biden's column. That's one major flip from 2016 for 2020. So with that said, I think President Trump and Joe Biden will both have about 248 electoral votes. And now we come down to the state of Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Nebraska's second district as kind of the 3 or 4 remaining toss-ups that will really make or break this race. Now this is what I have the battleground. This is like a very close, like precise battleground map that I have right now. I easily could have just said Nevada and Florida, North Carolina, Michigan, Minnesota, New Hampshire. I could have said they're all toss-ups to be honest. But where's the fun in that though? I'd rather be more bold and take a chance. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Whatever. But I feel like it's more of an interesting video if I give more my like actual opinion, actual like fact on what I think it's gonna be instead of just playing it safe and trying to get as most right. I think by taking like taking the chance and like the bullish approach, I think it's more of an entertaining video. So of these battleground states that toss up 42 electoral votes, I think it starts off with this. I think Arizona does go to President Trump, probably by under 1% this time around. I think President Trump does win the state of Arizona. I know polls don't show it, but President Trump's going to overperform Martha McSally, especially than she did in 2018. Presidential turnout was a lot higher in Arizona, and at the presidential level, we have still not seen a Democrat win here in a long time. And just because Kyrsten Sinema defeated an unpopular Republican in the Senate, and that is likely to happen again to the same candidate, that doesn't mean that she's going to make President Trump lose. I think President Trump will win Arizona. I think Nebraska's second district will also go to President Trump, probably by a lean to tilt margin. I'm going to nearly put it in the lean margin for now. President Trump gets a 260. Joe Biden gets a 248. I think President Trump does narrowly hold on to Wisconsin, probably by an even closer margin than the last time around, which is going to be crazy. So President Trump, I think, will be reelected at this moment with 270 electoral votes. Pennsylvania is where it all comes down to because I know the polling data does not show President Trump winning. I know I've gotten this comment a lot. However, President Trump got more voters in the state of Pennsylvania than Barack Obama did in 2012. Not more than Mitt Romney, more than Obama. All those voters aren't just going to flip back just because of what's been going on. And I honestly think Trump will lose some voters in the suburbs, but he'll win more voters throughout the rural parts of Pennsylvania. And his support throughout towns, working class towns like Erie, like Scranton, and like Pittsburgh in some cases, if the economy does recover, his approval in those areas are only going to go up. Which is why I'm still standing firm in my prediction of getting Pennsylvania to Trump. I still stick with it. Wisconsin's most likely to stay to Trump. Michigan's most likely to flip. Pennsylvania's the pure toss-up of the three, but I still narrowly give Pennsylvania to Trump because those voters, again, the hidden Trump vote, it's not just going to go away. Just because the polls doesn't show it. The polls didn't show Trump beating Hillary back in 2016 either. But the hidden Trump vote is there, and Trump did get higher voter turnout than Obama did. Those voters are there for Trump, and honestly, I could see him winning it again, even though it may not look like it now. Come election day, I could easily see him winning Pennsylvania again. So that's what I think my election prediction is going to be for now, and my battleground map prediction is going to be for now. I think President Trump wins re-election again with 290 electoral votes. Joe Biden narrowly, or not really narrowly, but yeah, narrowly loses with 248 electoral votes, with a lot of potential for this map to change leading up to the month and election day in November. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe if you liked the video. Leave a comment below telling me what you thought, and I'll see you in the next one.